you have time, what will be expected results of the massive head and shoulder pattern in the weekly gold chart should it fail? Where is it going? Maybe 750? It's not going to fail. We got the same formation, a reverse head and shoulders in gold, silver, and the HUI. HUI is an index of quality gold stocks that are not hedged or leveraged. And they're all going to go up. And you don't have to be very smart to figure that out. I mean, look, gold's down today. No, I don't have the HUI, but I do have the XAU, which is the hedged, large, successful gold and silver mining companies. It was at 402. That means the HUI was probably at 15 points. And gold's down? I mean, what are the gold stocks telling you? They're telling you the market's going higher, no matter what the government does. Nobody has enough gold to stop this thing now. And nobody has any Alexa to stop the collapse that we're in. And you better get used to it, because that's what's going to happen. And you better hope that we can pass Ron Paul's Bill 1207 to audit the Federal Reserve so we can get rid of it. And we got to get legislation for tariffs on goods and services. And if we can do that, we can stop short of revolution. And I'll tell you something, at the Bilderberger meeting they talked about it. They're scared to death. Their plan is not working, and they think they're all going to get their heads chopped off. And I get news for them. They're going to lose them. Believe me, they're going to lose them. When the public finds out what's been done to them, they will be bananas. And I don't know whether anybody can hold them back. You saw what happened during the French Revolution? 300,000 people lost their heads. You want to try 3 million in the United States? That's what this is headed at, and they're terrified. Next question. I'm sorry. Recently you've been mentioning the U.S. is already bankrupt. However, would you agree we already went bankrupt in 1971? And the answer is yes, we did, because we went off the gold standard onto fiat money, and that was the beginning of the end of the dollar. And they knew that. I mean, they were planning way back then to bring the economies of the world down so they can force people to accept world government. By completely disengaging from the gold standard, we essentially reneged on our international settlements and have been managing to pay our bills with increasingly worthless money. He's right. Feel free to respond on the air to this, and I'll thank you, Sev. Well, the previous question was from Joe. And, Sev, thank you very much. And thank you, too, Joe. Question for the Grand Diva.
Yes.
The writer of this article makes a good point in the context. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. Do I have the article? Let me see here. Be patient with me, please. No, I don't know whether I got it or not. I'll skip that one, come back to it. This is from Chris. I watched all the emails that you sent me, and now I am completely paranoid. Good work, Chris. We're here to drive everybody crazy. Unfortunately, it's the truth. It's reality. You're going to have to live with it. Here's my question. I want you to think about it before you answer it. Well, I always do. Maybe you can ask others their opinion, too. I haven't got time for that. We'll ask Melody what she thinks. That's good enough. What if we were all being set up by the IMF, the World Bank, Federal Reserve, etc., to buy gold, and then they devalue it so it is worth hardly nothing? A few people control the money, so why can this not happen with gold? And I got to tell you, it's not a good question. If you've studied history, you'll know the answer, and that answer is gold is immutable. It is always the only currency in the world. And that's the way it's been for 6,000 years. I mean, you can go back to Solomon's temples in 903 B.C., or you could go to the Crusaders, which were the well, you know who they are. They started modern banking in Europe. and then you can go to the Illuminati. But anyway, it never happened. We want to move on to another question. Okay, next. I appreciate your offer to address my specific situation, but I want to generalize discussion for the sake of the audience. For instance, I expect that when the banking infrastructure collapses inside and out and disemboweled, the dollar collapses and is devalued. The bankers and in-bed royalty make off for Paraguay with their loot. That all of us debtors will be held accountable for every penny of credit card debt. What is your comment? And the answer is, of course not. They couldn't get away with that. They would have to diminish the debt if they devalued. Do you have the closes? No, it's 20 minutes for close. All right, hold on. I just can't handle this. I've been up since 3:30 in the morning. I've already answered over 100 emails. Okay, this is important. This came in from, where did this come from? Britain? Okay. All right, I'll tell you what it is in a minute. Regarding the 10-year bond, I've heard you predict the 10-year would go to 3.5% by the end of the year, and also heard you others state that the 10 years would hit 4%, and if it does, it's game over. It's now 367. Well, I get news it's 371. Can you please comment and further clarify in more detail the actual significance of this? And what it is, nobody wants to buy dollar-denominated paper because of the devaluing dollar and the terrible debt and the hyperinflation that's in the wings. So the yield, the yield in the marketplace had nothing to do with the Fed, who sets interest rates. The yield has to go higher. And 4% will be, in term, maybe by the end of this next year, it will be 7 or 8%. If I had to pick a figure in 2 years, this year and next year, that would be a year and a half, I would pick 8 3/16. That's where it went in 1992, and I picked that. I was dead right in that interest rate. And that's probably where it's headed. On the short term, the long term, it could get up much higher. It all depends on how quickly the United States goes bankrupt. And so what the bond market is telling you, the game's over. Nobody wants to buy bonds. The stock market's going to come down. The only safe place to be is in gold and silver-related assets. We shouldn't have to tell you that. The Treasury doesn't have the power anymore to drive down bond prices. Drive up bond prices and drive yields down. It's the biggest market in the world. It's 10 times the size of the stock market. What would it take? Maybe $5 trillion a day. How's that? To manipulate the bond market. They don't have that kind of money. And were they to print it, the whole thing would just collapse. So that's that.
You know what, Bob? Sometimes it seems like, I hear it too, that they try to find loopholes and reasons for gold to go down. And I think also because it's so difficult for us to really, or for so many, I understand, but for so many to actually relate to the trillions of dollars, to how this whole system is so at risk, not just here but around the world. It's a lot for people to comprehend to the degree of the severity and where this is headed.
Now, you people just don't understand. It's going to be far worse than you understand. That's why we over and over and over tell you food, filter, weapons, gold and silver coins. If you're wealthy and want to speculate, you go into stocks. The end of story. There is no other. There just isn't. And the public is getting the message. I was on 2 Fox stations today, 1 on NBC and 2 on ABC. I've already done 5 programs today. This is number 6, and I've got one more in an hour and a half. And hopefully I don't get any more so I can go out and eat tonight. I go to bed at 7:30, and I get up at 3:30 to save your bacon for you. Okay, one other question here.